I want to connect a couple of dots for you today. One is the Department of Education, which is made up of thousands of employees that live and work in Washington, D.C. They direct what happens in the public schools across the country. And also, speaking of public schools, the Washington, D.C. public school system. Got to be a connection. Before I get into that, I do want to ask you to go to my website, brand new, uobilly.com or universityofbilly.com, either way. And I want you to check out, I'm going to put up an article that you actually have to read every single month. The one this month is the solution for the student debt problem. I think it's awesome. I've already sent it to a couple of congressmen. Deaf ears so far, but who knows? I would really appreciate you reading that, giving me your comments as to, it's a good idea or add to it or whatever. uobilly.com, universityofbilly.com. All right, back to the Department of Education and Washington, D.C. public schools. Here's a simple connection. Obviously, since the department is located in D.C., would that not mean the D.C. public school system ought to be the best in the country? I had a kid that worked for a retailer, and it was funny because the world headquarters of that retailer was just down the street from this store. So this was like the cleanest, best, most awesome store ever, because you always have these corporate execs coming in to check things out. So it just seems natural the D.C. public schools ought to be the best. Guess what? It's not. It's actually awful. Let me give you some examples. There was a survey done 2021 among all the states. So there's a ranking from 1 to 51, D.C. being one of those, and where they stand in these key metrics. One, of course, is dropout rates. You want the kids to graduate. D.C. public schools ranked, ready for this, 51st. They are the worst in the nation at getting kids graduated. Along those lines, to me, the most important subject of all for kids is reading. They ranked 47th out of 51 in that. Math, they ranked 49th. I mean, it's incredible. The only place they ranked up to the top, ready for this, was in funding. They ranked number 2, only behind the state of New York, and how much money, taxpayer dollars, is spent per pupil. So what can we learn from this? A couple of things. Number one, anytime you ask these bureaucrats, how do we improve public schools? What do you need or what can we do? Always, every time, they need more money. They got to spend more money. Okay, that's not true. And you can prove it with the D.C. school system. And secondly, here's the big point for me. We need to face the fact that the Department of Education is the most absurd and useless bureaucracy there's ever been. And the tens of billions of dollars of taxpayers' monies going to them should be stopped. They should be terminated. They're the elitist, the smartest people on the planet, so they should have no trouble finding jobs. Sell the building and maybe use the money for something that actually works. Learn, folks. Learn. And leave comments on my website.